Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here, coming at you with another trail tip for you preppers out there. If you're watching this video, that means you're connected. You have internet access, you're wired, and that means you probably have one of these, a phone, a cell phone. Now, some preppers don't like smartphones simply because of the tracking ability that it provides Big Brother, and I get that. However, some preppers have a way around that, or to mitigate that or reduce it. We can't eliminate it all the way, but we're willing to take the risk with a smartphone as to get the advantages that a smartphone provides us. So my question to you is, you may be prepped, but is your phone prepped? Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, dude, it's a phone, it's electronics, it's subject to failure. Well, let me ask you this. What does we as preppers do that is 100% reliable? Notice I didn't say guaranteed, because a guarantee implies that there's somebody else that's going to do something if this product fails. What I'm talking about is reliability. This phone and no phone is 100% reliable. We don't do anything in prepping that is 100% reliable, that's going to work every single time, all the time when we call upon it. There is nothing that we do. There's always a risk that something is going to fail, whether it's a product or a process or anything like that. Failure is part of the game. So what do we do to prep our phone? First off, we need to put some apps on there. Now, I'm going to be talking about specifically Android apps because I have an Android phone. Nothing against Apple other than the price, but I had to make a choice. I don't know of anybody who has a phone that runs on both Android and Apple. It could be possible. Maybe somebody's done it, but it's not going to be commercially available because neither manufacturer is going to allow it. But I had to make a choice, and so I chose Android. Towards that end, all the apps I'm going to talk about are Android apps. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're Apple fan, you're out of luck, because a lot of apps that are going to be on here are going to be able to be found on the Apple platform. And if there is an app that is not available on both platforms, there's probably an app that will do the same function as what I have on my phone. Now, as much as I'd like to have everything on my phone completely off grid, if the grid should go down, that's simply not possible. Some of these apps require a network connection. Others may need a network connection to stay current, but if the grid goes down and you lose connectivity, the app is still usable. It's just going to start getting out of date the further the time goes, until hopefully the system comes back up and you can update them. Some of the apps are going to require a gyroscope or inertial sensors, so it senses in this three-dimensional space its movement and tilt. Some are going to require a magnetometer, so a compass app will work. And some will require a GPS signal. Now, not all phones have the capability of doing those three. Some lower-end phones will not have the ability to have a magnetometer or an inertial sensor. Most of them have a GPS, but there are probably phones out there, a smartphone, that don't have a GPS function. So you need to make sure that your phone has those functions. If not, maybe you want to upgrade. That way you can get the best use out of these apps. Now, I'm going to break this video down into two parts. The first of which is strictly prepping, the prepping apps that I have on my phone. I have a page on my home screen dedicated strictly for prepping. I have apps that are basically geared directly towards prepping or are highly useful to preppers. And they will be shown in this format. In fact, everything in here is going to be shown in this format. I'm going to have simply right in the center, I'm going to have the app itself. This is a direct screen recording of me using the app. At the left side is going to be the actual name of the app, and then the avatar that is associated with that app is going to be displayed in the top left. This is not going to be a review of these apps. That'd take far too long. This is simply going to be an overview of these apps, how I have them organized on my phone, why I have them on there, and I'm going to show you a little bit about them. The second half of this video is going to be apps that I have on my phone that aren't prepper specific, but are useful apps for anybody. Preppers, campers, hikers, anybody in general. They're handy apps to have, and I'm just going to have an overview of those apps simply because they make life a little bit easier. Maybe your phone didn't come with one of these. Maybe your phone came with an app similar, but it's kind of lame and you want to upgrade, and you can do that. Some of the apps I have In fact, most of the apps I have are the free versions. I do have some versions on here that I've paid for the upgrade because there are features in the upgrade that I wanted, so I went ahead and paid the $1, $2, or $5, or even $10 or $20 to get those upgrades. But I do want to just go over some of these apps to show you what I have on my phone. I went with Nova Launcher for my preferred launcher on my phone. I'm on my 4th smartphone since I converted from dumb phones, and I went with Nova Launcher years ago when I heard about it because it has far more customizations, far more options. Even the free version far outstrips anything that the stock launcher has on my phone. So Nova Launcher for me all the way around. Every page on my phone is basically dedicated to a certain aspect of what I'm trying to conglomerate everything into. I have 9 pages on my home screen right now. I have one for business. I have one for online uses like my web browser and my virus scans and online apps like the Google Play Store and my online banking. I have a page for my personal stuff. I have one for various interests that I have. I also have one for camping and backpacking. I have a page for Pew Pews, as well as I have this page, which we're going to be concentrating on here at the first half of this video, dedicated towards prepping. Now I'm going to go across this just like you're reading a book. In the top left, you will see a blue icon. That's basically my Backpack Hack logo, colorized in blue because the rest of the icons are blue. This is not an app. This is not a file. This is simply an image that I've posted in the top left of this page, so I don't have to read what the other apps are or the directories or what have you to figure out what this page is for. I look at the top left and I know exactly what page I'm on. Other pages have similar images that are indigenous to what they represent. Reading across left to right across the top, I have a folder called Navigation. I have another one called Comms. I've got a flashlight widget. Next row is PlantNet, ConvertBee, PDFs, DuckDuckGo. Next is the FEMA and GPS. And at the bottom, I have a clock and a backlight. So let's start at the top and go with navigation. You open that up, and the first thing you will see is a compass. Now, this is a simple compass. It's a free app. It's one of the most accurate compasses I can find, and it's free, and it works. And so I know a lot of people are going to say you shouldn't rely on a compass on your phone. You should have a real compass. Yes, I do have a real compass, but there's no reason not to have a compass on your phone. Now, you do need to have a magnetometer on your phone for this to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Next to that, and I don't know how to pronounce it, OSMAND. And this is an offline maps app. You actually download your map online, and then you can use it offline. And there's all sorts of things you can do. And I like this because it's offline, but it has a lot of the same features as Google Maps. You can get directions either by car, by bicycle, walking, or by public transportation. You can enter in your position based on where you're at. You can select a point on a map, search for an address, or you can put in favorites. And the nice thing about this is, again, it's all offline. So if the grid is down, you can do this offline and do this navigation as long as you have a GPS signal. Another thing I like about it is if you look closely at this, you will see some orange and purple lines down here in the screen. The nice thing about that is those are pedestrian and bicycle trails. So if you're traveling by bike, you have access to bike trails. Also, if you zoom in very, very closely, you can see these dotted lines. Those are sidewalks. So if you are on foot, you can use this map to map out a route based on where you can walk, not just streets, but this tells you where in a lot of the major metropolitan areas where the sidewalks are. So you can tell here that you can cross this river on either side of the street without having to walk in the travel lane. It does tell you which direction rivers are running, not that you really need to. Here is a railroad track crossing, and again, another street that has a walk path across the river. And here's a major thoroughfare that has a walkway across the river on both sides. So you can use this to plan your walking route if need be. Next up is Waze. And the thing I like about Waze is this is one I use for traveling by car. You can use this OSM AND, but Waze is more online and it is more up to date than Google Maps when it comes to road closures. Here you can see a lot of road closures, and you can also see where other Waze users are. They've allowed their app to post their location, so you can see where these other people are. And this is a great app for basic vehicle navigation. If you are on foot, AllTrails is a great app to have because it has a lot of pedestrian and bicycle trails available to you. And you can simply open the app, zoom in on the area that you're at, and it will show you the various trails that are in your area. And you just simply decide which one you want to click on, and it will highlight them on the map where they're at. Pick one, and it will show you that trail on the map. It will also give you all sorts of information, the length of it, the weather forecast for that trail, and people write reviews about those trails. So this is a great app to have on your phone if you plan on bugging out or getting home on foot. And the final app that I have in my navigation is GeoTracker. And this is the opposite of a GPS app. Instead of telling you where to go, this is more of a breadcrumb app. In other words, it tells you where you have been. When you launch the app and start recording, it records your movements across the area that you're traversing, so you have a visual map of where you have been. And this can be helpful to maybe backtrack, give you an idea of where you've been, and so you can plan a route in the future. Next up is my comms directory, and I have 4 apps in here right now. I don't use them that much because I'm not much into shortwave radio, but I do have these on there. The first is a cryptology app, and this allows you to encrypt and decrypt messages, simple messages, simply by inputting a message and some sort of key or what have you, depending on the cipher that you're wanting to use. And then you can cipher or encrypt that message and then copy it, and then you can paste it whatever you want to do. Then when you receive an encrypted message, you can take that and paste it in there to decrypt it and get your message back out. Again, it's not a very fantastic app, but it is very useful if you want to have clandestine communications. And there's all sorts of possibilities here. Another app I have is Scanner Radio. This is an online service, so you have to be connected, but it allows you to listen to police and fire and ambulance, EMS, things like that. And it is kind of nice to be able to have access to that, because if there's an emergency but the grid is still up, maybe you can listen to this and find out where things are happening, so either you can go assist or avoid those areas. So it is kind of nice to be able to do that. Another app is Shortwave Schedules. This is if you have a shortwave radio capable at least receiving. You can go in and search for all sorts of shortwave broadcasts by time or location, and it will tell you the frequencies. All this information might be interesting to those of you who are into ham radio. It's a nice little app to have. And finally, I have a repeater book app. Again, I'm not into ham radio, but I have this on there. Should I ever get into it, I have access to it. This gives you all the repeaters that are available to you in your area. And you can search by area and pick up where these repeaters are and greatly extend the range of your ham radio. In the top right, the red and black symbol is a flashlight widget. It simply accesses the camera's LED to turn it on as a flashlight. It's simply touch on, touch off, a very simple widget. Another app I have is called PlantNet, and it's an app that utilizes an online streaming system that you launch the program, click on the camera, and you can take a photograph of a plant, submit that photograph, and it will search a database and return what it thinks the plant is. And then you can scroll through the options and decide which of those plants that it is suggesting is the actual plant that you have. It gives you existing photographs that other people have taken and confirm that this is the plant, and you can either confirm or choose another plant that what you think this is that you have in front of you. Another calculator I have is ConvertB. Now this will convert a lot of different things, but I have it set up just as a currency converter. It defaults to that right off the bat, and I can convert between one unit of currency and another. These are updated on a regular basis, so as long as you have a network connection, it's up to date. And all you have to do is put in the numbers and the two currencies you want to convert, and you're set. Clicking on my PDF file, I have 6 apps in there. And these are basically things to read. First off, I have the Ashley Book of Knots. And if you're not familiar with this, it is basically the Bible about knots. There is information about just about every knot known that's commonly known. Next is the SAS Survival Manual. Again, this is a PDF file that I have on my phone, or SAS Survival Handbook, I should say. And there is all sorts of information about survival and bushcrafting techniques and things like that. So it is a very handy book to have on your phone because it's a PDF and you can access it online, offline, so you have all this information available to you. Another survival app that I have on my phone is the Survival Manual. And just like the previous PDF, it has all sorts of information about various survival techniques available to you. And again, this is an app so it would be available and fully functional offline without the grid being available. I also have a copy of Wilderness and Remote First Aid by American Red Cross. If you do not have this on your phone, and I've covered this in a previous video, this is a wonderful app to have on your phone because it has a lot of serious, deep information about medical care and medical situations that you may come across, and having that information on your phone may be a lifesaver. 2 other apps that I have here are the American Red Cross First Aid. I've covered this in a previous video, and it has very basic what to do, how to do it, information that just about anybody who can read can understand and help a person who is in a situation that may be life-threatening or just injurious. And it has basic questions asked, FAQs. So it's just a very nice app to have in an emergency. My last app is the American Red Cross First Aid for Pets. Now this only covers dogs and cats, but it's still like the previous app. It has very basic information on how to take care of your pets, because pets are part of our family and we want to take care of them whether the times are good or the times are bad. So this is an excellent app to have if you have pets, because pets sometimes get hurt. They're in situations that they can't get themselves out of, or things happen to them. So you want to take care of your pets. Excellent app to have if you have a cat or a dog. I use DuckDuckGo as my go-to web browser simply because they don't collect information like a lot of other web browsers do. You can surf without having all that information gathered about you. It's not perfect, but it goes a long way for keeping your web browsing history away from prying eyes. I also have the app from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association or Administration or whatever, FEMA. We all know that they don't do very good, and of course, this is kind of a lame app, but I still put it on there because it does have some information that might be helpful, especially when it comes to alerts in your area, emergency safety tips. These are just general suggestions about what to do in these different situations. You can also get ideas of how to mitigate your risks and prepare for disasters, as well as shelters that might be in your area and other kind of general prep knowledge that might be pertinent to your location. In my GPS folder, I have two apps, GPS Test Plus and GPS Coordinate Converter. The GPS Test Plus, it's a paid app, and it has all sorts of information about GPS. You can click on a map to get where all these various GPS satellites are in the sky, the signal strength. You can get your actual GPS location very, very accurately here. It does have a compass, although it is not all that accurate, so I don't rely on it. In fact, I know my compass is, or my phone is actually headed north right now, so you can see it's off 17 degrees. It also has a dashboard that kind of looks like an airplane. You've got an altimeter and a speedometer and a compass. And there's also a screen that gives you various standard times. And this is very, very nice to be able to set clocks and things like that. GPS Coordinates Converter. This allows you to convert between degrees, minutes, and seconds, degrees and minutes in decimal form, or simply degrees purely in decimal form. So if I wanted to convert one to the other, I simply hit reset and then enter the numbers that I have into various fields, and then I can press convert and it will convert them to the other two formats. So this way, if you have coordinates in one format and you need to convert them to another format to be able to use them in an app, you don't have to do this longhand. This is an app, and it's free, that will allow you to do that quickly and easily. Down in the bottom left, I have the world clock. That is a simple world clock widget. I simply go to my settings, pick it, drag it to the screen I want to put it on, and then I drop it there, and now I have a widget. And I'm going to delete this as soon as I'm done, but it gives me the opportunity to put some sort of clock directly on my screen with a few customizations as to 12 or 24 hours, colors, font size, things like that, so I have a simple clock on the screen. Normally, if I had to adjust the screen brightness, I'd have to go to my settings, scroll down to display, find the brightness setting, and play with that to adjust the brightness. That's kind of annoying to have to go through all that. So on the bottom right of every screen I have is called the backlight widget. A simple touch, I can lower or raise the brightness. I simply cycles through 4 different brightness levels with a single touch, making it not necessary to have to go through all of those steps. And there are all of the apps I have on my phone dedicated strictly for preppers. Now, a lot of you are probably going to drop out at this point. That's fine, I get that. However, if you want to stick around for part 2, I've got some great apps you might want to look at to add to your phone simply to make your life a lot easier. So let's get started. In the miscellaneous apps that I have, one is an alarm clock app, and this is one of those that has 2 versions, a free and a paid. I upgraded to the paid version. It allows me to set various alarms in advance. I don't have to say, okay, I want to get up at whatever time and enter that in. I can preset those times in. So I have everything from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock or so in 15-minute intervals, and that's good enough for me. All I got to do is say, I want to get up tomorrow at a certain time, and click on that time, and my alarm is set. I don't have to worry about plugging one in or getting AM and PM mixed up. They're all pre-programmed. I just simply select one. For those of you who like to go pew-pew, I'm going to suggest this app. This is a great app for getting all sorts of information about concealed carrying. And it has all sorts of information about reciprocity, where you can carry, what the laws are in your particular state, open carry, duty to inform, whether signs are enforceable, limits, red flag laws, and this is updated at least once a month, so you can be assured that it's fairly current. This is not legal advice, however. This simply refers you to the laws as the app knows it. So if you really want to know, you're going to have to go outside of this app to find out the true information. However, this is a very good app if you want to travel out of state and still carry, because laws vary from state to state. I also have an app called ConvertPad, and the nice thing about this is it has all sorts of various units of measure that you can use and convert from one to the other: length and distance, temperature, area, volume, acceleration, power, all sorts of conversions that you can use. And the nice thing about it is, as many items that it has, all these different units of measure, you can select which ones you use. LockWatch. This is one I'm going to really suggest everybody get. What this is let's say you lose your phone, somebody picks it up and tries to unlock your phone. Hopefully your phone is locked. But if they do that incorrectly 3 times, what this will do is automatically turn on location services, and if it has a front camera, it will turn the front camera on. Otherwise, it will take on the back camera, take a photograph, and then email you the phone's GPS coordinates and the photograph it just took. And it does all this in the background. The person trying to open the phone does not know this is happening. So it can go a long way towards possibly retrieving a lost or stolen phone. LockWatch. Definitely get that on your phone. When it comes to calculators, I do have a standard calculator. I'll get to that in a minute. But MathPapa is a great calculator if you work with fractions. I've always struggled with fractions. Yes, I can do them. They're hard to do for me, but you can simply type in your fraction question left or right, like you're writing it out, and it will solve it for you. It can give you the actual solution, and then you can also have it choose a step-by-step to show you the steps that were done to solve that. MathPapa is a great if you're working with a lot of fractions. I'm going to tip my screen a little bit on the side here and show you an app called MyScript Calculator. This is a very, very handy calculator because you can draw out on the screen with your finger your math problem, and it will solve it for you. And if you make a mistake, like that 2 should have been a 3, I can cross it out, put in a 3, and again, it will recalculate it without having to rewrite the entire equation. Another thing you can do is use this to solve true or false statements or solve for a variable. You can give it an equation, and it will tell you how to correct that equation to make it a true equation. Very, very handy to have. RealCalc is my go-to calculator. It comes with both a free and a paid version. I have the paid version. It has a lot of mathematical functions, far more than you're probably ever going to need, but it has those scientific functions should you need them. X root of y, or the x power of y, what have you. All sorts of information. Plus it has parentheses. I don't know how many nested parentheses it will allow, but it does have the parentheses functions. Far more information, or far more functions, than you're probably ever going to need on a day-to-day basis. So the free version will probably work just fine for you. Now, if you're wondering how I got some of these items to show up on my screen, I use Shortcut Maker. When you launch this, it asks you, what do you want to show on the screen? Okay, I want to show a file on the screen. I want to show this particular image. It will create the shortcut and put it on my home screen. Once it's there, I can drag that icon anywhere on the phone that I want, drop it where I want it, and then I can edit it. I can change the name of it, and then I can also change how it appears. I can go to my phone and pick out an actual image that represents that icon that I want to represent. Once I'm done, I have an easy and quick way to access that file. Google Sky Map is another great app to have, especially if you want to learn a little bit more about the night sky. You simply launch it and aim it at the sky, and it will tell you on the screen what you're looking at. And as you move the camera around, it will show you what is where. Now, you do need a magnetometer or compass ability, and you also need an inertial sensor or gyroscope for this to function in that manner. But it still will work manually if you don't have those. As handy as Google Sky Maps is at night, Sun Surveyor is equally useful during the day. When you launch the app, it will activate your phone's rear camera and project that image onto your screen, and then give you the sun's path as it will track across the sky. So as you move your phone around, it will tell you where the sun is going to be at different times of the day. This can be very handy when you're setting up a camp or wanting to stop somewhere. You can have an idea of where the sun's going to be throughout the rest of the day. If you don't want to take the time to get out a pencil and paper to write down something, Voice Recorder is an app for you. You can simply launch this, hit the record button, speak into your phone, it will record what you're saying, and then you can play it back later. WeatherBug is a very popular weather app. You can get temperature and forecast. You can go either an hourly forecast to let you know what it's going to be like every hour. In the next day or so, yes, there are ads and sometimes they're a little annoying. You can also get a 10-day forecast, as well as you can get your radar map. Of course, this requires you to have a network connectivity, but you can get an idea of where the bad weather is and things like that. As great as WeatherBug is for weather, the one thing it doesn't have is the wind. That's where Wind Finder comes in. This will give you an idea of what the wind is going to be like, what direction and how strong the wind is going to be, as well as it can give you an idea of how the wind is actually going across where you are. And this is a live stream. And you can go to the future and get a forecast visually to see what the wind is going to be like several days into the future. The world may be getting more complicated every day, but my mind is getting a lot simpler, and it's hard for me to remember to do certain things. So I have a reminder app, and this is simply called Reminder. You can enter in all sorts of appointments and reminders for you to do in the future, whether it's somebody's birthday or anniversary, a doctor's appointment. You can have them repeat once a day, once a week, once a year, annually. You could even go years out into the future for like your driver's license or your carry permit and enter in a reminder to do something sometime in the future. You can also choose what time you want to be reminded during that day. You can also choose whether or not you want it to have repeated and how often. Once a month, twice a month, every 2 months, whatever you want. You can also notify yourself in advance. For instance, if I want to remind myself 2 days before my car insurance is due, I can certainly do that to remind myself to make sure I get it in the mail or that I get online and pay it. A reminder app is a great asset. And that's how I, as a prepper, have set up my phone to help me in an emergency no matter what it might be. There is one more app that I have. I can't show you the screen recording simply because the app will not allow it, and that is my password manager program. I use a wallet, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but here's the name and the icon or the avatar for it. Look it up on either the Google Play or the iTunes Store. That's what I use for my managing of my passwords. When you launch the app, in order to access all my passwords, my logins and everything else, it's asking for a password just to access the internal portions of the app. So if you don't have a password manager, get one. They're handy as all get out. And I'm going to suggest A-Wallet simply because it asks for a password up front. It's better than using a notepad or something that anybody can read. So that's how I have my phone set up as a prepper, and all the other stuff that I have on my phone simply to make life easier. So if there's another app that you'd like to have on your phone, go ahead and put a link to it in the comments down below. I'd love to take a look at it. Maybe I'll add it to my phone. So this is Backpack Hack coming at you with this trail tip. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment on my videos. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out on the trail.